Welcome to the Kubeflow community call for September 17, 2024. This call is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct and it is being recorded. So I'd like to put our agenda together today. I understand that we need to have some release updates and was wondering if we could I have the older last versions here, but is there any updates on the 1.9 and 1.10 release?
Thanks, Josh. Sorry, I joined a bit late and I didn't update the 191. Just give me 1 second to update one quick thing. But while I update the meeting notes, let me just announce that we just released the Kubeflow 191 RC1. There isn't an RC0, just to avoid any confusions. It's our first release candidate for the 191, which includes updates on the K-serve pipelines. It's updated to 2.3.0. There are also changes in the training operator, bumping to version 1.8.1. And we're planning probably another RC2 to gather all of the changes required to clarify and make a smoother transition in the authentication mechanism from OIDC to OAuth 2 proxy. When we get that done, we'll announce it in the Kubeflow meeting, and the final release probably will be late September or mid-October to have all of these changes done. Unfortunately, this date needed to be postponed because the platform working group lead is now on vacations, and he was the only one who could help with the manifest side. So we are waiting for him to get back from vacations to finish the last changes, release RC2, and finally go with cutting the 1.1 release. For 1.10, last meeting yesterday, we discussed the schedule for the 1.10 update while we're still working on having the new release and product managers for 1.10 release team and working with the others to get membership to the Kubeflow GitHub org. The timeline is still that it will be after March 2025. Our expectations will be in April if everything goes well. And we're planning to finish forming the 1.10 release team for October 7th, while the only big blocker here is establishing the roles for the product and the release manager, and having the others proper membership to be part of the release team. I think that's it for now. I think we're, I would say, while we're still late on forming the release team, on the other hand, we already have a proposal for schedule, and we already have the roadmap items for at least more than 90% of the working groups. So I would say we're balancing here to not considering this a red flag, but we're still under a yellow flag because it's taking a lot of time to forming the new release team, especially with defining the new release manager and product managers. I believe I'll have some updates late this week about the product manager, but still waiting on the release manager case, who will be the next one for 1.10. I guess that's it for now. I'll open the floor for any questions or comments.
I have a couple questions, but I'm waiting in case anybody else does. So the date on March 2025 or April 2025, that seems to be a pretty long development cycle, probably similar to what we've done in the past, but it concerns me that usually we have like a 4 month and we end up doing a 5 month, or we have a 5 month and we do a 6 month. Just start off with the 6 month. Sounds like we'll go to a 7 month. So I'm a little concerned to put the date out there that long. What's the long poles in the tent there? Why is the delivery after March, in your opinion?
Right. So first of all, Josh, this schedule is not set in stone yet. It's still under discussions.
Yeah.
What I asked the now members of the 110 release team is to ask each working group lead to see if we can get an AC case from them. And then if there's any concerns like you just raised, we could revisit the schedule and see what best fits for 110 schedule. So some things here to that lead us to a timeline in April for 110. First of all, we're taking a lot of time to form the release team because although we have a good number of volunteers, we have some requirements to fulfill before establishing this new release team, and that's taking a while. And especially for the most important roles, I believe the release and product managers, it's taking a long time to find someone who could fulfill the requirements and taking these roles for 110, which lead us to expect this October 7th to finish to form the release team. Because in the middle of this release cycle, there are the end of year holidays. We believe that we'll lose 3 weeks in this cycle with those holidays that could, compromise the schedule. So we just ignored those weeks and we counted 28 weeks of release cycle, excluding those 3 additional weeks of the end of year holidays. And that lead us the to the end April 2025. Again, this is all under discussion yet. I would like to hear from the other working group leads to see if that makes sense. It will be my first experience with getting a release cycle that happens during the end of year holidays. Maybe 3 weeks is too much. Maybe 3 weeks is acceptable. I have no idea, but just to let everyone know, this is still under discussion. We're still looking for other ACKs from the working group leads to formally establishing the schedule for the 110 release.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, my initial pushback on that would be needs to be pulled forward to probably February, but I'll see how that develops on the release team meetings. And then there have been several people that have reached out to me that have asked about becoming the release manager, and we have some stringent requirements that are listed in some of the docs, but yet we have had folks that have acted as the release manager without having all the requirements. Has there been anybody that either I or you have found that have been fairly excited and perhaps maybe not have all the check marks, but have qualities that would enable them to be a release manager? Has anybody expressed kind of I mean, there were several people, right?
Yeah, totally. There's a lot of volunteers, and I really appreciate to see so many volunteers to be part of the 110 release team. Most of them brought interest to be the release manager, um, and that's the part that I'd like to separate into two issues. Although we have a good number of volunteers, we'll still have some formal requirements to fulfill to have them part of the release team. Like they need to be members of the Kubeflow GitHub org, and to get membership, they need to have at least two substantial contributions to the community. So I don't believe this is the biggest blocker we have so far because since we established that October 7th will be the formal date where we're gonna form the 110 release team, we can help them onboarding themselves to the Kubeflow GitHub org with using, well, working on some good first issues and having contributions to get them membership to the GitHub org. The other one is that I know there are very good volunteers who are already contributing a lot in the past releases, but they don't feel confident enough to take the release manager. They believe the release manager role is too much for them, and I disagree on that because we have a lot of good people here who are good volunteers who has more knowledge and skills than myself when I started the 1.9 release. And unfortunately, um, I need to, you know, understand that they think that way, and I can offer them to shadow the next release manager role so they can prepare themselves to the next releases. Uh, However, we're still in the same situation than we had in the 1.9 release team when we were forming that team. We need people to fulfill the requirements, and I was the only one who volunteered and tried to make this, you know, take this courage to take this role without so much knowledge on that. Um, so I'm trying to mentor some of them to help on that, but I don't believe it will be near term enough to have them taking the release manager role. Um,
So
but yeah,
I do have a
still working
question
on
about
this.
that. Is there, in your opinion, and I don't want to waste too much more time on this, but and I don't mean to be saying that we're wasting time, but we need to get this done. Is there perhaps a first phase of the release manager responsibility and a second phase of the release manager responsibility? And could it be a little simpler at the first phase? And could we get somebody kind of in the first phase just as like, hey, you work for the first pre-holiday work? We're just looking for somebody from here to the holiday. Maybe they can commit to that. Um, just an idea. I know that we're still going to need somebody on the second half, but I'm trying to figure out how we can get somebody in place relatively quickly if we're not going to get the whole thing up front.
Yeah, I did not think that way, Josh. But one of the things I was looking into is since we have two candidates to shadow the release manager for 110, I
Yeah.
was planning to have them to have some sort of rotation on the release team meetings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So each week would be one of them to host the meetings, and the other two will help with the discussions. That way we can prepare them better. But I believe your idea would be also worth considering, having one for the pre-holidays and other one for the post holidays. That would be a good idea. Um, I'll think of this option as well, and I'll let you guys know what will be the final decision the next week.
Yeah. I kind of almost like a combination of those two, where you do a sharing up until the holiday, and then one person sees if they can step up and take it over the finish line. But let's see how that all develops. We don't have to do it in real time here. I just wanted to see where we're at. Thank you for the update and all the work that you've done beyond 1.9.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh. I think one good, the bright side of everything we're facing on the 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 challenges to form the new release team is that we see a lot of good volunteers. We see a lot of people volunteer for the next release team. So that means we're bringing attention to more people to get more contributions to the community. So that's a good the good news we can see from it.
And are they showing up to the meetings?
They are. Last week we had a good quorum. I believe 80% of all the volunteers who stepped into the release team was yesterday in the meeting. One of them just told me that they cannot, they are in vacations. Some others are with last minute call from their companies. But overall, I see good attendance from the new volunteers for the release team meetings.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, good. Thanks for all those updates. Thanks for all the work. Anything else before we close this out? All right. Let's move on unless going once, going twice. Last chance. All right, fantastic. Got a couple other comments here. Ender and Rui, maybe. What is Ender? We probably need to have a model registry UI integrated with the central dashboard by that time. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay. Let's talk about trusty AI status. I guess Ramesh isn't here. Is there somebody who would like to talk about this?
Hey, Josh. Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
This is Roy. Yeah, so I was just wondering if I could ask about the CI status and if there are any updates or answer any questions that anyone might have. I think that's the gist of the topic that Ramesh penciled down.
Yeah. So here's kind of my take of where we're at with this from the KSC standpoint. And, maybe some of the other KSC members are here. I don't know. Let me look. John is here. I don't see Andre. Maybe he's on vacation. We have discussed this a couple times, and not just Trusty AI, but several other projects too. And we're not getting a path forward. I think that we tried to get that done with the Feast PR to define, okay, here's how we would submit it, the information around it. And even that, which was pretty comprehensive, we didn't get a lot of traction inside of the KFC in terms of people saying, yeah, that looks like the information that we need in order to make a decision about what projects we want to bring in. And I think there's a real bifurcation in the KFC about the strategy of where Kubeflow should go. And the problem is that should we focus on just a few things and try to do them well or better than we are now, or should we just continue to bring more things in, and perhaps we don't do things with as high quality because we have too many things and not enough people. I'm not sure that that's how it will play out. I think that's just the sentiment that I'm getting back from folks. And I think both positions are kind of valid. They both make sense. And I keep trying to put it to a vote even a non-binding vote to try to get to say, hey, can we at least get to a place where, we can give people feedback so we can move on, so they can move on if they need to. And I have not been able to get that done either. I was on vacation last week. I will pick that back up this week in the KSC and see if I can bring this, if we have a quorum there, see if we can bring this to resolution one way or another, even if it's a non-bounding vote that says, this is kind of our gut feel where we're thinking things will end up. At least y'all will know what the thoughts are. But I would say that the Feast PR, which was the one that kind of said, here's what we think are and there were probably 30 or 40 items that we asked the Feast and the Feast group filled out, maybe 25, I don't know. But there were a lot of detailed information about, size community, people are contributing, blah, 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 all this stuff. I still would like to see if that becomes some form of the formal process that folks like Trustee would submit the request in a PR, and then the KFC would have to respond to that and give a final vote against it. I don't believe, I think the KFC probably does have an important role to play, but I also feel like if the members of the community really feel like some certain project should be moved in, then the KSC should really listen to that, right? It shouldn't just be done in a vacuum. So all of that is to say, it's the 17th. I think that we need to give, I was trying to get this done by the end of August. I think we need to put a line in the sand and say, look, we have to give answers back by the end of September. Even if it's a maybe, but we need to get back and say, is there yes, no, is there a process, and what are the hoops for the process? So I apologize for the long ramble.
No apologies needed. Thanks, Josh. That was actually very helpful. And obviously, we understand the community discussions and decision process. And what I can say is that from our side, if you can help to have a more informed discussion that we followed Feast PR as a reference, we can try at least to provide that much information and a more comprehensive overview of our proposal. And I mean, we can try to do it before the end of September, obviously, so you can still make it to the discussion. So I think we're just going to take that action item to try to make a more comprehensive, more in-depth exposition of the Trustee I case, so to speak, so that discussion in the community is more informed. But yeah, thank you. That was very informative and helpful.
Yeah, the only other piece is like the legal aspects about this is, are we adding projects into Kubeflow? And there's the whole licensing and, how the CNCF potentially perceives these software acquisitions that we're doing. I don't know what the right term, contributions that we're potentially receiving, how that all plays in. But we've done it once before. And, I think we've done it a couple times now where we've grown the community in an important way, in a valuable way. And I think these other projects do the same, but there's people with differences of opinion, and I respect their opinions.
Thanks,
I just want to
Josh.
add, I just want to add to Josh. I think Josh covered it really well. So as a community, each of us actually want Qflow ecosystem to get bigger and bigger. While on the other side, we are just debating how can we maintain and keep healthy projects in Qflow without getting abandoned or orphaned. So that's the whole discussion here. It's not just about having more contributions or projects to Qflow. So we are just trying to see, as a community, how can we make this process easier so that at a later point, we'll see all healthy projects in Qflow ecosystem.
Thanks. Thanks. I think it's in that respect, I think it'll be helpful to also give some insights into any long-term commitments that we have in community-wise for Trusty AI, any kind of statistics we have of project health as well. So yeah, we'll try to incorporate all that into a more detailed PR that we'll do. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Yeah, I think that would help the community as well to put forward all these points. Yes, thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, thank you. I see that Ricardo has his hand raised.
Yeah, just a honest question here. My understanding is that there's some sort of formal process to onboard a new component in the Kubeflow ecosystem, and it all passes about the having this new project as an add-on, and when it gets some sort of credibility inside the Kubeflow ecosystem, it becomes part of the official Kubeflow ecosystem. Is that the right reasoning to understand the formal process of onboarding a new component into Kubeflow? And if not, do we have that formal process documented somewhere?
So we are trying to see if we can create a process around that. Probably like I think we had a discussion earlier, right? For example, can Kubeflow be treated like a foundation, or is it just a project in CNCF? So I think that's the bigger question that we have, because that would, since we are already in incubating project in CNCF, so we have to figure out with CNCF if there are any other legal or other requirements to be satisfied since we are in the CNCF ecosystem. So there are some open questions that we don't have answers to that yet.
I think this is the discussion that's happening on the KST level, right? Do we have any ETA on when this formal process get done?
Can you give us, so primarily few folks were on leave and we couldn't have quorum last 2 weeks. So we will try to see if we can complete by end of September. And I just want to highlight that, right? I think Josh added that as well. Like, it shouldn't be prerogative of a steering committee as such, just to bring kind of a decision and then take a decision that is not favorable to the community, right? We would really love to hear community feedback as well. Yeah, how community sees it for a particular project, and if they really see value in that, etc. If community feels that something is really needed, and if they can support it, why not, right? Like, we should be basing our decisions based on that. It should not be just steering committee specifically about new projects.
Okay, I understand that.
Yeah, and I think that having a PR process perhaps is a way to get qualified or collect all that feedback, right? So you lay out the case, here's all the contribution, explanation about the project, and then people comment on it, and at least we have. And I don't know, I haven't talked to Jono about this. There may be a place where we come to where we say, it's possible, we're just not ready right now. We've just, took on 2 new projects, and now to take on 2 or 3 more projects, we're almost doubling the size of the organization, or at least the software projects. And that is a reason to lift an eyebrow. Anyway, we have work to do, and we have another topic. So I'm sorry that I don't have a good answer for the Trusty AI folks or for the Feast folks at this point, but there's a bunch of projects that we need to use this process on. So We have another question here from Ricardo about the CNCF graduation process.
Thanks, Josh. So just curious here. I was following the issue we opened with the CNCF about the Kubeflow onboarding for the as a preparation for the CNCF graduation. I noticed a couple weeks ago that those tasks are already done, and the issue itself was closed, that all of the onboarding process was already done. So I'd like to ask and see what I can help with taking the next steps to formally request the graduation for Kubeflow on the CNCF.
Okay, so I think there might be two pieces to this. I don't know if anybody else has been watching this, and I could be out of the loop for a little bit, but there was the onboarding for us to become an incubating project. And then there were the requirements to do the graduation. So there was a PR open, you said, for the graduation that has been closed? Is that what
No,
you?
there's not actually the graduation name mentioned in that issue. It was actually CNCF Kubeflow onboarding. I think that was the name.
Yeah, I think that was to get us in as an incubating, easy for me to say, project. John, maybe you can keep me honest here, but I'm pretty sure that was just to get us in the door. And now the graduation, there are some pretty hefty security audit and a few other things that we have to get done. That again is one of those strategic kind of projections that we need to decide on over the next 2-3 releases about whether we're going to graduate as a CNCF project and the benefits of that. But that part may add more features. It will definitely add more features and more testing into our work, more documentation. All of that's good stuff. I think it all adds credibility to us to go through the graduation, but I'm not sure that, and John, I know that you're running one of the working groups, but I'm wondering if the working group leads are looking at those graduation requirements as they look at 110 and 111, right? Or their releases that line up with those. Any comments, Johnu, on any of that?
So regarding the things to be done from the working group side, I think we are good to go from what I see. But I'll recheck and get back to the community regarding that if there is something remaining. I see James here. I remember he was talking about some approval process pending from an administration perspective. Do you have some thoughts there, James, regarding from the Google side, if there is something pending?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? What is the approval?
Like for the graduation, I remember you have raised some discussion regarding some administrative process for the graduation, some pending items for graduation.
Graduation from incubation, you mean?
Yes.
I do not recall if there was a discussion on that.
So regarding the account transfer, specifically, I think it was from the GitHub side. Is there something pending, or are we good to go?
I think I think GitHub transfer is done. The domain transfers are done. Actually, most of it, I think most of the items are done. There are a few things that have not been transferred are being worked on, like websites and so on. But I think from I think there's just a few leftover items now.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I think
I got from the CNCF issue that those ownership transfer processes are already done as well. Like the last thing I heard is the domain transfer to the CNCF. So I believe those are the items you were talking about, John.
That is
yes.
complete, the domain transfer.
Sorry, what did you say, James?
The domain transfer is done.
Okay. Okay, question to you, James. Usually when we need to make some changes in the website, like for example, I remember when we added the new 1.9 documentation, we needed to add some DNS changes. Do we still need to ask you or James Liu, or can we ask CNCF to do those DNS changes?
This I'm not too sure. I think we should check with James Liu. He's been like helping with DNS issues so far. So actually, I'm not sure what needs to be like what permissions we have right now.
Okay.
Like he's also the person who handled the domain transfer, so I think he has the best knowledge.
Okay, I get it. I'll ask him. Thanks. Okay, so I understand our next steps will be reevaluate everything we did so far with reaching graduation, see what's missing, and then create another tracker issue for us to reach graduation process. Even if that needs to last 3 more releases.
Right. Thanks, Ricardo, for that. I think if we can get that the final list of the pending items, then maybe like we can work in parallel regarding that.
Okay. I'll see if I can figure out what are the remaining items, and I'll let you know.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, I think we had a short agenda today. I apologize if I wasn't completely prepared. I just got back last night from vacation, so a little bit off track, but hopefully we got some stuff back on going to this day. Is there any other items that we need to talk about? Okay. Got some to-dos in the KFC. I've taken those and written those down. We'll get them on the agenda. And is there any comments or questions from anybody else? Okay. Well, I think we can give people some time back. Try to make this call a little bit more snappy in the future, but I did, since I've been out, I wanted to catch back up, and I apologize if I drag it on a little too long. Hope you all have a good week, and we'll talk to you later, I guess, next week, if not before.
Thanks, Josh.
All righty. Bye now.
Bye.